What's going on, people? This is Coach Law, and we are kicking off another episode with the parents, Life in Different Kicks. Before we start, we didn't do this last time, so we're going to run everything back. So, first off, I'm going to let both of them introduce each other. The cool thing about it is the man has the mic first because once y'all see how this go, you're gonna see who the talker is, who the laughter is, who's gonna be the quiet one. So first off, we're gonna have him introduce himself and highlight one thing that he appreciates about his lovely wife, and one thing, if he could just shake her, let us know, and then we're gonna run that back with her too.
My name is Robert, and all I can say about my wife is I love her.
Nah, we need to know who you are first. Give
Oh,
us
well,
you.
me. What would you like to know about my character, or
Who is Robert Smith?
okay, Robert Smith, um, fun-loving, a jokester, compassionate. I love my kids, and and always a good person. I don't change for anybody. It's who I am. So those who don't like who I am, I'm sorry. This is who I am.
All right, and then what was one of the great qualities that your wife has that you admire oh so much?
Oh, her beauty, her beauty. I love. She's beautiful,
If beauty
and
was her name.
yeah, beauty is her name for real.
All
I'm not gonna lie about that.
right, so we got the easy one out the way. What is one thing, if you could just give her a lovely, holy shake, what would that one thing that she does?
Oh, the nagging. I'm
I'm
sorry, sweet. It is the way it is. You do nag. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, oh, it's something else. No, it's.
so that question, how much does beauty overpower that nagging? And we ain't talking about just today. We talking about overall life. I'm thinking those line up neck to neck depending on what day.
Yeah, well, you're right about that. It does. Because beauty somewhat pretty much takes over, but I'm not gonna lie, that nagging was creeping up there. I'm not gonna see him mince words, but it's true, and I love her, but the nagging is just a little bit over the top sometimes, and sometimes it gets to me.
Hey, boom. We already starting this out with the truth. This is why we got one mic because someone was ready to butt in and plead their case. Well, guess what? Now you get to do the same exact thing, but you have to wait until the end to say what you want to shake from him. All right, so Mom Dukes, introduce yourself. No robot speaking today, please. Let's hear who you are.
Okay, I'm Linda. Your mom.
That's what the doctors say.
That's what I know.
But when I came out, I was gray and looking pretty pale.
Yeah, I know what I pushed out though. So yes, I'm Linda. I'm a mother of 5, 2 biological children, 3 that I adopt, and uh, I'm a very strong woman.
Mhm.
I'm a loving woman. There's a lot of love inside this heart. I could pretend to be hard at times, but there is a lot of love inside this heart. Uh, very understanding, very caring. Mm, I'm Linda.
Boom. Now, Mom Dukes, aka Linda, what is one thing that you admire about your loving husband that just said you nag as much as your beauty?
One thing I love, admire about my husband, he's a provider.
Mm.
He's real. He's not fake.
No.
He is that good person that he says he is. And I don't mind that he said I'm a nagger because he's true. He was honest. I'll take that. And he's very patient to put up with my nagging.
What would be his thing he does? You would want to give him a nice holy hug.
Oh, God, that laughing. That laughing. If he just don't stop all that laughing.
Hey, if you need to have a bright day, come on over to Robert Smith here and let him know what's going on. He's going to laugh your troubles away. It don't matter if your food was cold, he's going to laugh. The food too hot, he's still going to laugh. Either way, it's going to find some humor out of your life. So now we got that out the way. Today we are going to tap back into what we spoke about previously, just to dive in a little bit more into some questions. There were some questions that we did get to ask, but we didn't get to go all the way in detail. Apparently my parents thought that they wanted to be safe, but this is a unsafe environment, raw and uncut. So we're going to get all the way down to the nitty gritty questions, but this time I actually wrote out a few of them so we can stay on track and answer as many as possible. This one right here, we're going to tap in only 45 minutes, people. Last one we did, 2 hours of talking. We're going to chop it down. So before we even get started, I'm going to let them two give you the backstory of who they are leading up to before they met each other. And then we will set the tone from there. So we already got Mom Dukes with the mic. The floor is yours of who Linda Smith is and who she was leading up into that Halloween date.
You back as far as I can take you. I'm going to take you to 3 years old. I'm going to take you, and I'm going to take you without trying to take a long time getting you there. I'm going to bring you back to as far as I can remember. So I can go back to Head Start. When I was 3 years old, I can remember being a little girl, always had two parents in the home, mom and a dad, had a house, had it all. And I can remember always having a dad that came in drunk every night, always beating on my mom, breaking dishes, cursing, busting out windows. So there was never no peace in the home at nighttime. Daytime was in school, and can remember at night being at church all the time with my mom until time for dad to come home. So once I started Head Start at 4, my Head Start teacher asked for me and my little cousin to come over and spend a weekend with them. And boy, anything was better than being in my home, hearing what I would hear every night. So me and my cousin, we got to go spend a weekend there. And boy, was it nice. She had 2 teenage daughters, one of the best houses, peaceful, no man there breaking up dishes, fighting, cursing. And boy, was it nice. So when we got there, we went into the daughters' rooms, and beautiful bedrooms, Barbie dolls everywhere. I can remember the pink paint on the walls, and we got to play with them toys, something that I didn't have at home. Wasn't no toys at our home. If anything, we had mice running across the floor. And we did have a nice house, but we still had the mice running across the floors. We had kind of an older house. But boy, me and my little cousin had a good time playing with them dolls until I remembered them teenagers asking us, and we were like 4 years old, as I said, if you want to continue to play with our toys, there's some stuff you're going to have to do to us before you play with them anymore. And they were things that little girls our age should not have been exposed to. But we wanted to play with them toys. So there was some sexual things we had to do to them teenagers. And we were told, if you ever tell, you can't come back and play. And we did them things. And that was my first experience of being molested. And we did that for a couple more weekends because we loved to play with the toys. And I loved not to have what was going on with me in my home. So we done it for a while. But my cousin got uncomfortable and she started to cry to me and say, I don't want us to go back anymore. Let's don't go no more. And that's when it stopped. We stopped wanting to go over and we told the teacher we didn't want to go, but we never ever told anybody about it. And I could remember years going by and maybe we were in junior high and one day my cousin saying to me, do you remember what happened to us when we were little girls? And we both remembered that. And the reason I brought that up is because I wanted to bring that back until when I was 3 years old, so that when I do bring us up to where we are now with me and my husband's marriage, it can let you see how abused I was as a child, and I brought that into my marriage. So that's why I started from the root of what I can remember. Being that happened and I was told not to tell, eventually as I got older, cousins, uncles, other men, other boys began to do the same thing that these girls did to me. But I always was told not to tell. When I got a little bit older, I had a stepbrother, and he also did that to me. But I decided I was going to speak out. I wasn't going to hide it. I needed to tell. And when I told, I got a beating for that. Not only did I get a beating, I got put out the house. And I can remember while I was out, I remember the 800 number. Run away, 800, run away. That's what the number was. I can remember it to this day. And I called that number and they sent me a bus ticket to Albany, New York. And it was a runaway shelter. And I left and I went there because I was told I was lying. Why would you tell somebody that your own brother did that to you? You're trying to start trouble. You're lying. And I can remember being in this runaway shelter for almost a week and my dad coming up to that place with his one of his exes and them telling me, if you will stop saying that, we'll bring you home. If you'll stop telling that lie. And I remember them leaving without me because I was not lying. And I can remember 2 days later, my mom coming there to get me and believing me, saying, I believe you, but you shouldn't have never left home. You wouldn't have been in this. So I kind of got the blame, but I was kind of believed. So I was still stuck in the middle, not understanding, should I have told, should I have not? And from that day on, all that has been put in my mind, and I tried to push it to the side and just move on and be a regular teenager in high school and do things like regular teenagers do. But it always bothered me because the first time I spoke out, I got punished for it. So then when people done that to me, I began to learn not to tell, and it continued to happen. So I can remember turning 14 and one day my cousin asking me would I want to smoke some weed with her. And it was fine. We smoked the weed and I can remember it was good. And all night we just was puffing our weed and the high felt good. And I can remember at the end of the night her saying, well, if you're going to smoke, you want to finish getting high, I ain't got no more. I ain't got no more weed, but I got something that'll keep us going. And that weed was real, real good. It was so good. I didn't feel none of them rapes no more. I just felt all my pain gone, never knowing she had put crack inside the weed. Something different. So by the end of the night, there was no more weed, but she had some more crack and she laced it in the weed. And she finally told me, we could stay getting high, but we're going to have to put it on this soda bottle. So she did. And from that day on, I learned how to smoke crack. I had to hide it from everybody, but I learned it. And that was my first experience smoking crack. And I was trying to go to school and still try to be a teenager, but I had that memory along with me through high school, remembering if you don't want to remember the rapes, you don't want to remember the pain, you can always remember to smoke some crack. So I didn't really get started at 14. I mean, I started, but it wasn't something that just took me down. I just remembered it would take away the pain. But I always watched other crackheads, what you would call crackheads, hit the pipe, and you hear that, and you would say, I don't want to be a crackhead. I don't want to be that. That's bad. That looks bad. Look what they do for that. But I knew if I did it in weed, nobody really would know it. But I began to keep on going and going. Didn't really pick up the crack as much at 14, and my life went on. Few more rapes that happened along the way, and I ended up 19. And I like I said, wasn't no real big crackhead, would just smoke some weed here and there, and that never ended up graduating from high school, made it to the 12th grade. And at 19, I ended up meeting my first husband, and he was 34 years old. I was 19, and I was smoking weed, no crack. I was in Florida, and shouldn't have been down there at that age, but I was there, left home, being grown. And by the way, I skipped. I left home at 14, so I had been on my own since, and that. But met him. Ended up, he was my boss. I was working for him, and uh, ended up getting pregnant by him, not knowing, because he was my boss. He paid me good. He looked good. He didn't look like, nothing was wrong. Not knowing he smoked crack. And I ended up getting pregnant by him. But boy, when I got pregnant, and at that time, wasn't smoking no crack, none of it, just weed. I threw the whole bag of weed in the trash. Everything was about, I'm pregnant now. I'm having a child. I got somebody I can love. I got somebody that is mine inside of me. I didn't want a drug. I mean, I went cold turkey. Like all the pain I ever had in my life from growing up, being molested. My whole life was molestation from 3 years old. The pain was gone. Everything was what was inside of me. But I did not know the guy that I was marrying at 19 was undercover crackhead. Just because he was my boss, I didn't see it until it was too late. And boy, did my life spiral down, and I didn't even have to be on it. That man beat me while I was pregnant, after I was pregnant. The whole 8 years I was married to him, beatings, 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 because he was on that crack so bad. And all the love I had for my child, my firstborn child, my son, I breastfed my son, so I definitely wasn't going to touch no drugs. He beat that out of me. He made sure that you're going to stop breastfeeding. You're not. I went back to school to graduate. I wanted that diploma. I've been in the 12th grade 5 times. And because, like I told you, he was an older man, and I was younger. They allowed you to get till 21 to try to get your high school diploma. They even started a school where if you had a child, you can bring your baby with you, because I couldn't stay in school because my son, I was breastfeeding and he wouldn't take the bottle. So every day they were calling, come on home, you're going to have to feed them. And it was messing me up from graduating. I got in another school where you could bring your baby with you so you can take a break and breastfeed and come back to class. I did everything I could possibly do to get my diploma. And then when it was time for prom, he break my nose, blacken my eyes, because I would not bring him to prom with me. He was too old to be coming to prom with me. My whole life with him, my whole 8 years, nothing but abuse. And I still wasn't strung out there on the crack like that in the beginning years until after. Finally, I said I might as well join him because he's just going to keep hurting me. And I began to go ahead and smoke the crack with him. And my life just spiraled out of control. But one thing I did, even though I was smoking crack with him, I remained going to church. Something that my mother implanted into us was church. Go to church. And we tried, even when we smoke all Saturday night, to stay in the house of God. And I believe that's why I'm here today and I'm not with that man anymore. It's because God heard my cry. And once we got our divorce, and that, I was out there on my own. And one thing I said I would never do, and I didn't ever do it while I was with him, never sold my body. I never tricked. I never sold my body. I never stole from nobody. I didn't do none of that for crack. None while we were married. Never did. But once the divorce was final, because he beat me so bad, while I was holding my little girl in my arms, he broke into my trailer and he beat me with a pipe. And he said, and all I asked him, can you please let me put my little girl down before you hurt her? He said, what good is it for her if she's not going to have a mother? Because I'm about to kill you. I can remember my 4-year-old little son running to the neighbors, trying to get help, and they would not help because they said all they do is fight over there. She'll take them right back. And I can remember that day clear as day. No one there to help us and nothing but God. I knew to just go ahead and take that beating, but hold my little girl in my arms so when he was beating me, I could protect him from busting her skull. And I took that beating and I just kept calling the name of Jesus. And the next thing I knew, he said, I'll stop beating you if you move back in with me and my mom. And I said, I will, if you'll go to the payphone and you call her and ask her, is it okay? And I knew if I can get him to leave out that door, I would be safe. Once he left, it was it. I never turned back. It was the end of the road. He went to jail. I went my way. My children got taken away from me. They went into the system. I lost my children for crack, and I didn't want anything else to do. There was no more left for me. My children were gone. I went down, down. When I say I went down, not only did I go down to the bottom, I went down to 95 pounds. You would have thought I had AIDS. I didn't have AIDS. I smoked so much crack. And everything I just told you, I never tricked. I never stole. I never slept around. But at that point, when I lost my children, I did it all. I did it all on the corners. I did everything I told you I did not do. And I smoked to block out every bit of pain that I had from 3 years old up until what I just said happened with my first husband. And I done it and I done it and I done it until one day I was facing 10 years in prison for a robbery. And I can remember the day in prison calling out to God and asking him, if you get me out of this one, I'll serve you till I die. And God, he did that. And that was 31 years ago. 31 years ago. Me and two other people in a robbery. And one of the people in that robbery was a man who saved me and my two children in Florida that day of that beating, an ex-drug dealer who had a car stolen to bring me back home to where my mother was so I can give my kids to my mother so she can raise them because I was out there. And my arm was broke up that day from him beating me, holding my daughter. And in the meanwhile, while waiting to be sentenced for them 10 years, I married that man in prison. I ended up marrying him, which was my second marriage. Between that time, I had the divorce happen with my first husband, and I married that guy out of a favor. He did something, and the less in his time, I married him. There was no intimacy, none of that. It was a favor back because he saved my life with my children and got me back to where my kids could get to my mom and get out of custody. Long story, she helped get him out, and she had him. And once God helped me to get out of prison, I asked God, and from that day on, I've been serving him. I did it all. I'm not proud of none of that, but one thing I can tell you, not only did God help me out of what I was in, he blessed me with the man I'm married to today. And that man asked me, what could I do for you when he married me? And I told him, I want my children. I want my children back. And when I met him, I was a year clean. I was a year clean. And I said, I just want my children back. And he said, I will help you. He never came in as a stepdad, not ever. He came in as dad, and he has been that man. So when he tells you he was a good man, he is a good man. So I've been there, I've done that. And in return, like I told you, I have 5 children, 2 biological children and 3 adopted. I went back and I returned back what was done to my children, had to see a foster care system. And in there, it wasn't a good experience, but I meant I'm going to get cleaned up and I'm going to get it together. And I'm going to go back and help some other children that might not have been in good situations and put them in good situations. And it wasn't always easy with me and my husband. Like he said, yeah, I'm a nagger. That's not most of it. I came with a lot of abuse. It wasn't easy for him to hug me. It wasn't easy for him to kiss me. It wasn't easy for him to touch me. Because when you've been where I've been, you're wondering what I got to give up. Where's the catch? What I got to do because you helped me get my kids back. When you going to hit me? When you going to beat me? When you going to pull out some crack? Not once. So I just needed to share where I came from so that when we talk about our marriage, this man loved me until I could love myself. He loved my children, and he's never been a stepdad.
All right, that was more than what y'all expected, I am sure. All right, we're gonna give her time to take a sip of her drink, wind down, pass the mic over, and we're gonna let Robert, aka Dad, go over who he was leading up into that Halloween date.
Okay. Let me start off by saying, Robert again. Before I met Linda, I had a career in the military, and I loved my career. So I enjoyed the time that I did have in the military up until when I met my first wife. And things were, I guess it was pretty good in the beginning, but then deception started to show in our marriage, and that led up to the pregnancy. And when she got pregnant, I figured that things were going to be peaches and cream. I wanted to have my child, wife. We had a house in Manitoba, Canada, and I thought everything was going to be peaches and cream up until one day I came home on release, and everybody but my ex-wife was there. So her mom was there, and she said that my wife didn't want to come out, so I didn't understand why. So coming home to something special turned out to be a disaster, and of course my heart was broken. And she never came out, so she left with her mom and everything. To make a long story short, I had a sad marriage, and I promised myself that it would never happen again when I meet the right woman. And when I met Linda, prior to that, I had a daughter. And my wife and I, my ex-wife and I, we were expecting our first child. And when I got to the hospital, that's when the nightmare began. When I got there, my doctor told me that my daughter had some kind of brain aneurysm at that age. And come to find out, my ex-wife decided to kill the baby and didn't tell me that until the baby was born. And so imagine the shock that I had in the hospital to hear my daughter was being killed. I didn't want to believe that. So she lived for 3 weeks. I was devastated. Although I came from a violent neighborhood, I was not a violent person until after my daughter died. And so I became a violent person. People who came up to me, they were either afraid of me or wanted to kill me. So I expected certain things in my life to go wrong. Until one day, her brother came up to me. And I mean, everything was blamed on me. So they said it was your fault. You went away. You left your wife there, blah, blah, blah. So I took the blame. I drank a lot. I was violent. I did a lot of things that I should have never done, scaring people, wanted to kill everybody in this world. That was my action. But her brother came up to me. He told me what happened. It wasn't my fault. I never knew anything that my wife was doing because I was away a lot. And when he told me what she did, it devastated me. So it was devastating me to the point where I didn't care anymore. But then my aunt, she prayed for me. She said, nephew, you're not that person. Be who you are. And then she prayed for me and we talked and everything. But then I realized everything she said was true. I'm not who I was. I was not a violent person. Yes, I lost my child, but I was not that person that I was becoming. So I changed my life around, and then found me a job. My brother and his fiance decided to bring me up to Kingston, New York, where I met Linda at. And so I went to the orientation, at Super Kmart. I had 2 jobs actually. So I went to Super Kmart for the first job. Then I met this beautiful woman there. I was staring at her, and the first thing I said is, "Oh wow!" I mean, we both got the same drink. I said, I mean, this is something new. Oh, I mean, I think we're alike. And she did a quick smile, and I was like, all right. I think things are looking up for me. So then after that, 2 weeks later, no, actually it was a week and a half later, she came by me again, and she asked me what was I doing, and I said I was doing some shelving. She said, would you like a coffee? I said, if I had somebody that could get me the coffee, that would be nice. She said, I'll get you coffee. I said, no, I was only joking. Make a long story short, 2 days after that, saw her again. She and I talked for about 15 minutes, and she asked if I wanted to go out, for dinner. I said yes. But then, this is the funny part. She had a whole, 2 shopping carts full of toys. And the first thing I thought was, oh no, I'm not messing with this woman. She looked like she got a lot of kids, you know. So I'm being real with y'all. The only thing I wanted to do was to take her to bed and leave her alone after that because I didn't want to deal with it. So, but then she told me she only had one child. So I said, okay, that's good. I said, boy, whoever this child is, he's a lucky person. But I asked her, you got girls' toys in there? She said, oh, I'm buying it for a friend. I said, oh, cool, no problem. So I met Lawrence, and he was a timid little boy, and I was like, oh, I like him. And the first thing he told Linda back then after our first date, he said, wow, I like him, but he got big ears. I can take that. But then let me go back to the story. So we went out on our first date, and it was amazing. We stayed out from the time we went on that date all the way till like the next morning. She had to work. And me, being selfish that I was, I didn't want her to stop. You know, I didn't want the conversation to stop. And so when the sun came up, she asked me about that corner. And I was like, well, what about that corner? She said, you see that corner right there? And I said, yeah, I see it, but what are you trying to tell me? She said, that's where, that's where I stand a lot, and I slept with a lot of people. I said, well, Linda, let me tell you this right now. I said, that's in your past. Whatever happened then is not going to happen now. This is the new future if you want it. And she said, yeah. Then she wanted me to take the car home, but I told her, no, she can drop me off and everything. But then after that, we had a few more dates. And all of a sudden, it was one day she was supposed to go on a singles ministry. And I told her, why would you want to go on a singles ministry? What is that about? So she was telling me about, how, meet Christian men and everything. And so I was kind of down. And we was at the stoplight near Super Kmart or whatever it was. And so she asked me, she said, why don't you want me to go to the singles ministry? I said, why would you want to go? She said, tell me why you don't want me to go. I said, because I love you. And so the light turned green, and she said, I love you too. And I went right through, the light turned red, and I went right through the red light, and there was another car coming, they honked their horn, and I was like in awe. And then about 2 days after that, it was 11 days. So 11 days later, I proposed to her, and she accepted. And I was like, oh my God, you accepted. So I got to see, get to know the kids and everything. Well, let me get back to the story here. Now, she said she had only had one child. She didn't tell me about the other one. So when she told me about the other one, I said, well, why didn't you tell me you had two kids? She said, the reason why, Rob, I mean, you just got to see for yourself. Well, she brought
Dennis the Menace.
yeah,
I've seen the movie. Dennis the Menace.
So my son came in, or he wasn't my son yet. Lawrence came in, and he was like, hi. I said, hi. So, and I said, where's the other kid? And next thing you know, I heard a bunch of balls falling out of the little rack in the aisles. And I heard a little girl say, sorry. And I said, who's that? She said, that's my daughter. I said, so that's your daughter? I said, it's all right. Don't worry about it. We'll pick them all up. And then she decided to touch something else and then drop something down. I said, wow, this kid sure likes touching stuff. But so I got to meet her, and she was a little girl about 4 or 5 years old. She had 2 missing teeth in her front, so when she was talking, she was spitting on me. So I didn't mind that because she was only 4 or 5 years old. So she's like, hi, who are you? So I didn't mind that. So then after that, I got to get to know the both of them and everything, and they got to see who I am. But I told Linda, before I met you, I was a lost person. I didn't have anybody. I wanted to go back home to Italy because I was living in Valletta at the time. So I came back to the U.S. because my time was over. And so 2 weeks prior to that, I told Linda that I might be going back. But then, we just started to click, and I didn't want to go back. I mean, my orders were not ready anyway. So I decided to tell my first sergeant I didn't want to go to Italy. I wanted to stay, homebound. So he found me a station up there near Kingston, near somebody outside of Kingston. So I had to do my last tour, but I didn't want to leave her or the kids. So I fell in love with the kids when I got to know them. But anyway, after that, we prepared for the marriage. But prior to that, I had to meet the pastor of the church, and he said that I can never marry you. This was the first pastor, a pastor she grew up with. He said he couldn't marry us. So I said, okay, no problem. So she went to that church after that, the one she was residing in. So I said, okay. He said, I can't marry you either. And so I was like, I guess we're not going to get married. And he said, the reason why I can't marry you because you two are living in sin. You can't live together. So I asked the pastor, I said, Pastor, where am I going to live? He says, well, that's for you to find out. You got 24 hours. So Linda came up with the idea that my mom, and I didn't know her mom. So her mom, was like, well, I'll take him in. Not knowing this woman at all. And make a long story short, we got to know each other. She said, what are your plans for my daughter? Because she doesn't have those kids. My grandkids are with me. I said, I understand. But I got to see the kids more than I did when I saw Linda. So I was staying with them. And so she cooked for me and everything. We went to church on Sundays and everything. And so it was nice. I got saved. I wasn't saved yet. I was pretending to be saved. So I ain't gonna lie to you, I was sinning. Still had sin in my heart because before I found out she only had 2 kids, I thought she had a lot of them. So my intentions were to do what I got to do and just leave it. So, but then I fell in love with her and found out that I fell in love with the kids. And 3 months later, we were able to get married. But the day before that, me and Lawrence and another guy, his best friend, we were at one hotel, and we were in this. We were staying at their house, at his grandmother's house. But Linda was at the hotel. So I told Newt, I said, Newt, let's get ready to go.
Now we get into nicknames.
Yeah. So I said, him and Wallenberg, let's go. We're going to go sleep at the hotel. And he said, why would you want to do that? I said, I just want to see your mom. So, of course, I tried to sneak in the hotel. Couldn't get in because my nephew's ex-girlfriend was there and she was guarding the gate. She was like the gatekeeper and I couldn't get in there. So I tried to call and Linda tried to get on the phone. And then she kept saying, no, Aunt Linda, you can't get on the phone. You can't talk to me. I said, please, for 1 second. No, Uncle Rob, you can't. So I was like, no. I said, Newt, how we going to get in? Newt was like, I don't know. I said, I got to find a way in there. So, but after that, I gave up. I had to wait. And then after that, a day later, we got married. And of course, Lawrence sung at the wedding, and he was singing I Believe I Can Fly. It was amazing. I loved it. I was crying.
The question was leading up to the first date.
I'm sorry.
Both of them missed the assignment.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Both of them missed the assignment.
I'm sorry. I got so excited.
Y'all got my nickname. Y'all got to see an extra hobby. All these extra things that we was not supposed to go over.
You're right.
Dennis the Menace, that happened because of them two.
Yeah. But I want to end it there. It was a happy occasion, and like I said, it was love at first sight.
Great. So, hey, y'all see, both of them can talk it up and miss the assignment.
Yes, we did.
So, if y'all watching this, and if I ever miss an assignment, don't blame me. It's from my upbringing. It's by default. This is what happens. So, now that we got both of their stories, a lot of people have so many different views and opinions about how things should operate, how things should run, what they would do if they were in that situation. And both of them have 2 different upbringings. Both of them went through 2 different journeys. Both of them had 2 different challenges and struggles, and now got to a point to where they feel they want to share and build something in a future. But what we just realized is they approach things and handle things differently leading up to this point. So my first question to both of y'all is, from your learning experience leading up to the day that you saw each other, what were you able to identify in yourself that made you feel ready to even entertain each other?
Well, when I got to know her better, we got to talk more.
No. You.
Oh, me.
What made you feel?
Okay.
From your history, that was a lot to take in.
Yeah.
You went growing up, doing great things, getting into the military, being able to travel, see the world, all the things that didn't happen after you met.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that you grew up playing sports, getting scholarships,
Mm-hmm.
ended up going into the military. You didn't go all the way into what happened with you and your wife, but we'll get it out of you.
Mm-hmm.
With losing your marriage, losing your firstborn,
Mm-hmm.
and now identifying that person that you started trying to create and releasing that person to become the person that you truly was.
Mm-hmm.
How did you handle all of that and still be willing to be the person that she needed?
Whew.
How did you know you was ready for that?
Well, it took some time to really know that I was ready. It took my aunt's prayers for me to be ready and ready to admit what I was doing was wrong,
Mm-hmm.
because it was not me. I was being somebody that I was not. Yes, it was a tragedy that brought that on, but
So, what was the person that you became
mm-hmm.
based off of the hurt that you
Mm-hmm.
received? What was the
Oh, I
what was
became.
the total? If you could
Mm-hmm.
describe it into words, so
Mm-hmm.
we can paint that picture. What would that picture be that explains the words?
The person that became after the tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was evil.
What was some of the things you look back at now and just
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, if I told the people that this was me, they
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
What would that be? Because I know
Mm-hmm.
at least
Mm-hmm.
your new circle of associates and friends, if you tell them you was evil or mean
Mm-hmm.
or you drunk XYZ, they look at you and say,
They
did
really was.
Linda tell you to say this? Because we
Yeah.
ain't never see
No.
this.
No. That was all me. Till that time, people didn't believe that was me. Even my own family, my own friends didn't believe that was me. They saw a complete change in me. They was wondering what took place until I told them. And a lot of people were like, Rob, that's not you. Be who you are. And no, something like that took me for a complete turn. Now, when I came back to myself, when I started to identify with myself again, that's when I knew I was ready to be complete and wanted to start another family.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when all this came about.
Got it.
There you go.
All right. So
Bullseye.
same question from the story that you wanted to roll out to us and explain from 3 years old all the way up until the time you decide to get him some coffee. I'm trying to figure out if the coffee was good because this man makes all the coffee in here. So what I'm getting from that was he found out what not to allow her to do to keep this a nice, healthy, strong marriage. But I'm gonna leave that alone. What is it that you learned, and what was it that you realized it's time to make that adjustment?
Okay. Answer the question, Linda. Now, I knew it was time, like I said, before the drugs and that, when I first found out I was pregnant, that was something inside of me that was mine, that was like I felt love for the very first time living inside of me, and I wanted to feel that again. I wanted that again. And I knew when I met Robert, I could get my children back. I could have that chance again. And I can have the family that I always wanted. I knew it was there. I knew he would be the man that would complete that. And also the way he treated me, I knew I could be healed in his presence. So I knew.
All right. So before we pass this and do that, both already expressed that they already been married at least one time prior to their marriage. From your first marriage, we're gonna go there first. First question. Did your expectations meet what you were able to meet. Growing up, you had your idea of what a wedding may have looked like, how your family may have looked like, but the thought of your marriage, did it match the outcome in your first marriage?
In my first marriage, I believe I'll say no because I believe because I got pregnant and I had a baby, that was just the right thing to do. So,
Okay.
no.
So leading up before making that decision of saying, hey, we're having a child, that means we need to be a family. What did a marriage look like in your eyes when you were at that age of 19?
If I would have based it on a marriage, looking at a marriage in my home growing up, it would have been abuse. Like I watched what my father do to my mom, just abuse. If I looked at it on TV, it would be just a fairy tale, what you see on TV. So living it,
But what was your thoughts of yours? So when you grew up, you saw the TV, you saw what was real life. Did you picture yourself getting both of those? Did you picture yourself just getting the TV life? Or did you see yourself seeing you being your mother?
I believe I looked at it more or less that I was gonna have the fairy tale and block out the abusive marriage that I seen growing up in.
So, what did your fairy tale marriage look like at 19?
Husband and wife sitting down at the dinner table, going on vacations with your children to Disney, all the happy stuff. I don't even think I thought of the bad stuff.
Okay, fair enough. And then your second marriage, what was your thought process and what kind of outcome did you see yourself receiving after experiencing what you did for 8 years?
Mm. My second marriage?
Hmm.
Okay. If you remember, I did say I had a second one before this one. So that one, it was like I said, I did get married to a person in prison. So I really didn't have any expectations of the house, the home, to be with. It was more of I'm gonna hold you down because you was there for me. I did kind of expect that one day it would just be over with and I would continue on and have a life again on the outside, but let me hold you down so your sentencing, you won't get a lot of time. And then one day I could just go ahead and move on, but I did this favor for you.
Got it. And then now going on to your third, what was your expectations and what was your reward or what is your rewarding that you're receiving now?
Okay. Now, by the third one, it was
I
not.
hope after the third time you got shit right.
Okay. Now, by the third one, I was looking more closer, more to that fairy tale, even though there's no fairy tale wedding. Marriage is work, period. So looking more toward that. Definitely not that abusive one grew up in. That was definitely not on the table. Yes, the children eating dinner, the table, the trips. I wanted all that in this one. And working hard for what you want, more or less looking for that. And I've had that. I mean, I've had it, and marriage is work. I've had it this time around, and it came with a lot of ups and downs. Like I said, I brought my past into it, and like he said, he's a good man. He's patient, so he had to bring that into it, and we worked that together. So
Got it.
yeah.
All right, perfect. So we're going to play musical Mike. So, same question that your wife has answered. Leading up to that marriage, what was it that you thought a marriage, a family, and what a husband was supposed to be?
Okay. Now, It was same thing. I lived a fantasy life, want to have a marriage. One day I said to myself, I want to get married, have a beautiful wife, kids, the lifestyle I want to live. Now, the lifestyle that I was living was not, it's totally opposite. My mom was a single mom. My stepdad was there, but he was non-existent most of the time because he was an alcoholic. So I didn't want to live that kind of lifestyle. I want my lifestyle to be totally different. And I dreamt of it. And I said, one day when I have a family, I'm going to be a loving father, a provider, love my wife as well as myself, love my children, love them unconditionally, because that's the life that I wanted.
Okay. And from that experience, because it's just like us as kids, we're like, we can't wait to grow up. And then you grow up and you got bills and you're like, hold up. I didn't picture this part of being an adult. I just remember I don't have to hear you say, this is my house, these my rules. So from that, what did you actually catch in reality after that first marriage?
After I left home and I got my first bill, it was a credit card bill.
No, the first marriage.
Oh, the first marriage.
Reality. Yeah.
Yes.
So now you got it. And
I got you.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought being a husband, I get to watch football and she cooking the food.
Yeah, well, that's not what happened. I'm gonna tell you what happened. I met her at a restaurant. We got, it was nice and everything. We dated for about almost a year, and then she decided that one day we should have a family. So I said, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Being I'm in the military and everything, and her doing her.
Those Latinos and Puerto Ricans, they got a mouthpiece on them, and he got trapped.
Yeah,
all right, keep going.
Okay. You're right about that. But she proposed to me, and I accepted it. And so I said, okay, yeah. We decided, yeah.
We got another question.
Yeah.
She dropped the bomb to him.
Yeah.
So he said yes. Did she go on one knee or did she just sit down and ask you?
She was sitting down.
Okay.
And so I got on one knee and I gave her, we went to, I didn't do what I did with Linda. What I did, I went to the store, got a diamond ring. It wasn't real diamond, but it was simulated. But went and got it, proposed again to her, put the ring on.
He said, "Cause mama ain't raised no bitch."
Yeah, right.
You ain't gonna have to take my manhood.
So I met her mom and her stepdad. The mom was totally against it. The stepdad was all for it. Her real dad, I met him. He was all for it, and the stepmom, his wife. Now everybody was all for it except her mom, and her brothers were all for it. So everything was going good.
How'd that make you feel? Everyone got the blessings from everyone,
but the mom. And I really wanted that, and eventually she wound up doing it. And I told my mom about us getting married. My mom was against it as well. And
Mamas be knowing, huh?
Yeah. So my mom was like staring at her, and she said, "Robert, that's not the one." I said, "Well, Ma, I love her. She loved me, blah, 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 blah." But my mom didn't want to hear it. And her mom did the same thing. But we wanted to get married anyway. So after that, we wound up moving in with her godmother and her son. And so we stayed there for about 6 months. No, I'm wrong. 4 months before we got our apartment. And everything's going good up until the other side of her showed up. And things start to change.
That spicy side.
Yeah. So the fairy tale wife that I wanted was not there. So things took a quick turn and went south. When she got pregnant, she was not happy. I was happy. And her mom was not happy. Everybody else was happy except her and my mom. So I didn't know what was going on. And like I said, to make a long story short, her plan was to abort the pregnancy by any means necessary while I was away. So when I got home,
military orders.
I was in the military. So I was away for about a month and a half, 2 months. Came home, and she never came out the room. Her mom sitting there smiling with the smile that she had, and I knew there was something up. And and it took a bad turn from here on out. And so when the baby passed away, they decided to take the baby to Puerto Rico, which I flew off the handle about that. But that wasn't the life that I wanted. It fell apart. I didn't want that life anymore. She didn't want to be around me anymore. I didn't want to be around her. We wound up getting a divorce. The divorce was amicable because she got mostly everything. I got nothing. So she got the car, the apartment, everything. So, but I got my life, even though it was a terrible life after I lost my daughter. It was not a terrible life. So when I met Linda,
so marriage number two.
We
speed up the process.
We're gonna go fast forward.
And now that you know, hey, the fairy tale of a marriage don't always go that way.
It doesn't.
What was your expectations now? Did you water down your fairy tale to at least try to be happy in some phase of your life? Or did you still say, mama didn't raise no bitch, we gonna get what we want in life, and now you unfolding it?
Yes, I'm unfolding it. I'm trying again. So I tried wife number two before she became my wife. And then after we got married, she wasn't really ready for it, although in my heart I knew she was ready, but in time.
Gotcha.
So when I met her,
went off of potential.
Yeah. And so my mom, when she met my mother met all of y'all. And she liked all of y'all. She loved y'all.
She liked me because I wasn't Dennis the Menace.
Yeah. So she was, I remember she was talking to you. She was, but Muffy was talking and everything. And it was nice. And my mom was like, Bobby, she said, I like her. So she knew off the bat that Linda was the one. They be known. So they be known. You got that right. So I was like, wow. And so then after that, Linda and I got married. The fairy tale was starting to begin, but then it had a glitch in it. Linda told me about the glitch. She told me when we was in up there celebrating our honeymoon, and she
said, "Where'd y'all go? Because guess what? I've been to the same spot now too. Where'd y'all go for your honeymoon?
We went to what was it?
Don't you forget.
I don't want to forget. I want to forget. Oh, come on, no. And I'm the one that remembers everything.
Father Time is catching up with that mind.
But anyway, we saw.
No. I hope you remember the Poconos.
Poconos, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
But y'all want to highlight me.
Yeah.
Make me have your wife look up the picture of you doing the handstand with your cheetah underwear.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Bad memory over here.
Yeah. I forgot about that one. You still got that picture? If you do, destroy it. But anyway, we went to the Poconos. We had a great time. But prior to that, before we were trying to consummate the marriage, Linda said, no. She said, what are you doing? And I'm like, we're getting ready to go to bed to consummate the marriage. She said, oh, no, I'm not doing that for you. She said, all I wanted was my kids back.
Wait, because some of y'all don't know what that word means. So my dad has an issue with thinking everyone is here. And just like me, I'm right here. So explain
consummate what that means to make love, have sex after during the honeymoon. But Linda said no. And she said the reason why she said no.
After I do, you open those legs and let me do you. That's how that goes.
Well, it didn't happen that day.
It sure didn't.
and we bought all that. I love Jack Daniels. We had Jack Daniels. We had different kinds of.
All these people are learning too much about stuff.
Yeah, I had the Jack Daniels.
That's why he drank Jack.
I love Jack Daniels. But anyway, we were going. I thought we were going to make love that night and seal the deal. And then she said no. She said the only reason why I married you is because of the kids. So I sat her down. I told her, I said, well, Linda, you're going to have to learn to love yourself first before you can ever love me and those kids, because I love the kids and you love the kids, but you're going to have to love yourself. And so we left it at that. And then about a couple of days later, and this is where the fairy tale comes in. We were going somewhere in the Poconos after we ate, and Linda asked me a question. She said, "What are you thinking about?" I said, Linda, you're not going to believe this, but I miss the kids. And
So after he said that, there was no happy time.
Yeah.
This whole honeymoon.
I think there was that. But I told her, Mr. Kids, she said, "You want to go get him?" I said, "Yeah, let's go get him." And so we drove back and he got y'all. And I felt like this was an awesome ending. We got them. We had a great time at Great Adventures, and the kids were happy. And
What happened at Great Adventures?
all of us had fun. We was
No. What happened to us at Great Adventure on the ride?
on the ride.
Mm-hmm.
Am I missing something?
Yeah, you are.
He doesn't remember it. He's getting older.
Besides y'all having fun.
We got on the ride and we got in an accident on the ride.
Oh, I forgot about that. I blocked that out. Yeah, I'm older. Yeah, that's all right. I'm older. Yeah, and it was raining that day.
We had a spin and it.
Yeah, I remember.
Too far down and we bumped.
That's right.
We didn't say nothing because we knew if we did, the trip be over with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had y'all with us. I wanted y'all there with me. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was a happy ending because I had my family with me. That's my fairy tale marriage, because without y'all, I don't think it would be much of a fairy tale, even though we didn't do what we had to do, but we did it with y'all. So that mattered to me.
All right, so far, how we feeling over here? Do y'all feel like you need to sit back and be quiet? You saying too much? What's going on? Are we learning?
Oh yeah, I'm learning a lot.
All right, so we went on and we talked about both of their upbringing and what they experienced. And with this question right here, from both of your upbringings, how do you feel it shaped and molded your view on love?
Well, I didn't have that much love growing up from my mom. Mm-hmm. I got it from my aunts. And so that pretty much gives me the way love is supposed to be, because I got love. But not from the person I wanted it from, but from those who gave it to me. Mm-hmm. And that's why I can able to love myself first and then love my family afterwards. And, yet I had a lot of distractions and trouble events, but I still kept that love aspect in my heart. And that's what makes me the man I am today.
Okay. And before you tell your wife to answer this question, express what love means to you. Mm-hmm. Love. Your wife's eyes got so big, like she was choking on some water. Love. She don't want that question. Yeah. Love. She don't want those questions. Boy, we got some questions.
Yeah. Today. Well, love means to me, love is unconditional. There shouldn't be no stipulations to love. If I love my wife more than anything in this world.
Nagging and all.
Yeah, nagging and all. I take the nagging, I take everything. So whatever comes behind it, I'm taking it. Because
that's salty collard greens.
Yeah, salty collard greens. The burnt rice, whatever. When she burnt water back then.
The pink white clothes.
Yeah, yeah. The burnt water, everything. I took that. So, but no, love is unconditional, and there shouldn't be no stipulations to it. There shouldn't be something. I don't ask for anything in return. I just want her to love me back.
Question: how do you think your upbringing affect your way of viewing love? That's the first question.
Okay. Upbringing.
Yeah, being honest.
I'm gonna say the upbringing. I ain't gonna say I wasn't loved. I'm gonna say I was loved. My mom loved me. She just didn't know how to show it. And I ain't even gonna say she didn't know how to show it. She kind of bought things for me to show me love. Put it like that.
So she knew how to show it in material. She didn't know how to use the words to express it.
Right. There we go.
What about affection?
Every now and then.
but not something that you
Not
would
on
put
it.
into a habit to do it for yourself.
Right. There we
Okay.
go. So yeah. So we'll go with that. Yeah. And my dad loved me too in his own way.
Right. So it goes into the follow up is express what love means to you.
Now, what love means to me now, a while back, I couldn't answer that. Like you said, I didn't want that question. And just recently, you just caught me where I can answer what love is. And that's just because some things I went through in the last few weeks and I had to really search love. And that's funny you're asking it because I just been searching that in the Bible for the last few days. And love is patience. Love is kind. Love is not envy. Doesn't boast. And that's something I've been reading over and over. I needed more of that in my heart lately. And that's something I've been doing each day this week is 1 Corinthians 13. Just reading on what love is. So one thing I know about love, love doesn't hurt. So if you feeling some type of hurt, that's not love. Love doesn't hurt. So one of the things I know with me, like in a relationship with Robert, grow through these 27 years, I can't always say I loved him back because the reason I can't say that is there's a lot of times I had to check myself on being selfish. You don't love and be selfish at the same time. And I have been selfish. And now I'm learning after
So
all these years.
out of your 27 years, you were how many years in the game when you realized that?
To be honest, I'm just getting it.
Mm.
Just getting it.
Hey, that's self development right there, self check. All right, keep going. Is that the finish of your question?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, so now we're gonna go into your next question. All right, we're not gonna have a bunch. We got a little bit left. We got 4 questions left. We're gonna make them count. And this one is gonna go with challenging your love. All right, so I want you to share a moment in the relationship where you struggled with loving your husband. And then we'll go into the second part.
I struggled with
It could
love.
be from internal or external conflicts.
I hope anybody gets it the way I'm getting ready to say this. Struggled with love. This is, you would have to understand this. If you go back to when I said I married my first husband and he was much older than me,
Mm-hmm.
I could say the struggle came more with my husband being older now than when we were younger. It was much easier for me than it was older because until I had to realize because he's an older man now, I had to literally realize and try to break this down so you will understand it. When we both were younger, like we were both 29, we were both 30, whatever. So we were like young. When he got older, my mind went to my first husband being that older man. And I had to separate Robert from
You
being
got
that older
once
person.
once you your youth phase that you didn't experience with your first husband
There you go.
expired, your old husband arrived back at the door.
There you go. And I had to separate that. I think you understand what I'm feeling and separate and realize, this is still Robert, but you just got older. So if you understand what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, there you go.
So same question for challenging love. All right.
Uh-huh.
Can you share a moment in your relationship where you struggled to maintain your love internally or externally?
A lot of times when it was hard to maintain it was when she got verbally abusive.
Mm.
And a lot of times it was hard to love her when the words that were coming out of her mouth were just me.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them were hurtful. And I felt like, why is it I'm the one being attacked? What did I do? So that was my question to myself. What did I do? Am I doing something wrong? Um, and then she'll come back and she'll say, well, I apologize for my actions. And then it would be a repetitive thing. And I just couldn't figure it out. But then when we sat down, we talked about it, and she explained it to me. I said, well, honey, I'm not that person. I'm Robert. I'm me. You can't compare me to someone else's issues with you. And what it does, it makes me feel like, less of a man, pretty much. Because then I can perform as a man if I have issues from somebody else. It's like another man's in my room.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, wow. I mean, am I competing with this person? It's hard for me to compete with somebody if I'm the one that's being attacked and that person is being acknowledged. So I feel like I'm being pushed to the side sometimes. So it's hard to love somebody like that when the abuse is like trained towards you and
Right.
you haven't done anything.
Right. Okay. I get it. That makes sense. So we're gonna go back on this question. We're gonna get a little bit personal. And we're gonna go with responding to hurts. That's what we're gonna talk about. Responding to hurts. And since you got the mic first, we're gonna start with you first.
Okay.
So my question to you is, how did you initiate your reaction to being hurt,
Mm-hmm.
and what? All right, so let me answer this question again. So, how did you initiate being hurt,
Mm-hmm.
and how was the reaction you received expressing your hurt? Give us the time something happened and was hurtful, and how was it responded back?
Okay, let's see. There was a time when we were in Cheraw and we were coming back from Cheraw heading home, and she got upset about something. And we were driving and everything, and all of a sudden I got punched in the face. And I didn't understand that. I was like, so I was angry. And of course, I sped up the car because I was upset. I was pissed. So, and then you and Murphy was in the back of the car, and I tried not to show my expression, but it was there. I was so angry because I got punched for something. And I was like, ugh. So I grabbed the wheel real tight, sped up the car. And so Linda was telling me to slow down. And I was like, no. It's because I was so angry, and I responded with anger and hatred. And eventually I was able to, calm down, but it was still there. I just was so angry. I wanted to get y'all home, get in the house, and just go, just leave it alone. But Linda would leave it alone that day. So I reacted in a way where I punched a hole in the wall. And I was so hurt more because you and Murphy were there and saw that. And I was crying more so for y'all than it is for myself. And eventually everything died down. We talked and everything, but I still had that anger in me. I was like, why did you do that? What did I do? I mean, come on now. We're coming from Cheraw and you're punching me in my face while I'm driving. I'm like, wow. But that was an instance that I remember where my anger just started fueling. And it boiled over to the point where I did punch a hole in the wall.
Gotcha. And from there, how did you feel she received your hurt from that? And be honest, if you feel at that time she didn't see it,
She didn't see
how
it.
did you feel about that? Even though you said you fixed the situation, you just put a band-aid over it. You
Yeah.
didn't fix it at that point of your
Yeah.
phases.
She was just trying to calm me down, but it was never at that time. It was never fixed. She just wanted me to calm down. But then the words came out again, and I knew it was never fixed. Like you said, it was just a band-aid. But then all of a sudden, the band-aid's been pulled off again, and then the wound's shown. And it was a hurtful thing for me at the time because of the fact that, I wanted to talk about it, but there was no talking at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And and I was already fueled up from the incident, and she was already fueled up because of what happened in her past, and she brought that up that day, and I was like, "Oh, what is that?" Well, I cussed. I was cussing, so I'm not one for cussing, but I did cuss that day. I ain't gonna lie, and because I was mad,
Right.
so I didn't understand why I got hit, why she did that to me. What's the reason? She wouldn't explain it. She said, "You're just like every other man." And I'm like, "What?" And started cussing and fuming, punched a hole in the wall, kicking the couch. I remember that one too. So it was, it was just not a good scene.
Gotcha.
That's not me. But yet, I'm human. I had a setback that time, and eventually it was better, but it took a while for that to get
It took a while to overcome
yeah.
it. Same question. How did you interact to express how you was hurt, and what type of reaction did you get after telling them what was hurting?
Okay. That's kind of a hard question with him because really, I ain't acting like he's an angel, but he doesn't hurt me. Like it's me. It was me. I know, like what he just shared. When that was when yous were little, what he's talking about doesn't matter when it was, but he's going way back to an incident that happened, and he's right. Was
Back
no
when I used to
reaction.
have braids and stuff.
Yeah, way back. But even to now, like if he was to even do something to hurt me, it might be something he might not just understood or something.
All right, let's go to this one.
Okay.
When you felt hurt about Betty, how did you approach this situation, and how did you feel it unfolded?
Okay. Okay, let's remember. How did I go about that? Well, when I first found out about Betty, get me in one of my long stories. Like I started off.
You got 90 seconds to answer this question.
Condense it.
Yeah.
No, but okay, I'm trying to remember back so I don't remember on the level of right now. But back then when I found out about Betty, okay, I'm gonna go back.
Before we go into
Okay.
who was right and wrong, it's just the situation. I'm not trying to answer the question, but I can
Right.
say what the answer is to this question. But I need you to express what bothered you from hearing about the experience or even figuring it out, and what happened after will be the follow-up question.
Okay, so we're gonna do the Betty one?
Yeah, the Betty one.
Oh,
That's what we talking about.
gotta do the Betty one?
Yeah, the one
Okay.
there you kept going up and down the stairs, calling him a liar after you found out certain stuff.
Okay. All right. We'll do the Betty one. All right. I wouldn't have mind the Betty one. I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't have mind, but I don't like nobody play with my intelligence. That's the problem with the Betty one was the cell phone. Cause
All right, we say Betty won. There's not multiple people. We're
wait,
just
the
talking
Betty
about
story. The Betty.
she tried to throw this man under the bus. Like, yeah, I let him get a couple passes, and they're in our 27 years of marriage. But Betty was the one that pissed me off the most.
Wait, yeah, let me get that right. The Betty story. Betty. No, okay, Betty. I wouldn't have mind, but it was the way he did it because it played with my intelligence. That's what I
played
mean.
with your intelligence?
When he said I didn't hear her on no voicemail.
Yeah.
There's no voicemail, no ladies on my voicemail. And that affect me to this day. Because
So what bothered you was the lie.
the lie,
There we
like
go.
this,
That's what I wanted.
there
to.
it go.
The
The
lie
lie.
is what bothered you, because if he told you about Betty, you might have gave him a pass because
Yeah.
you had your past with one of your friends.
Yeah, like there,
Now
like
you see, right? See, it's not a tit for tat, but every marriage ain't a great marriage, but it's their marriage, all right? So let's
Yeah.
do that.
yeah,
I thought he was gonna use that one, Glendale, but he didn't want to use Glendale.
yeah. Oh, yeah. He said Sherrod. But no, yeah.
So what? Okay, so explain the rest of it.
No, that was the part that bothered me because I couldn't push back in the phone. Then I felt all slow, like you can't go back to the voicemail. That's what bothered me most. I knew what I heard. How's your day, boo? I don't even ask him how his day is.
Exactly. There we go.
You know?
So, all right, people. Long story short, she found out that there was this lady at work that was making sure her husband was secure, and she found out and he denied it. Instead of just telling the truth, he kept the story running, which almost worked because she is not tech savvy to this day still.
Not at all.
And because she couldn't find the proof, we all looked at like you on your nagging street yet again. But then eventually over time, what happened?
Over time,
Mm-hmm.
I ain't learned to use that cell phone. Over time, yeah, he
Did he
he ended up-
confess?
Yeah.
that ain't really how I found out.
No.
Go ahead, express it.
My son Lawrence said, "Give me the phone," and he.
And he looked at me and said, "Nigga, I'm the one that taught you how to read."
No.
You gonna blow up and stop, nigga?
All that she let me look at now, you going
Yeah. Now, yeah. See?
So
Yeah.
then you found out.
Then
and
I found out.
How'd you feel from then?
After that, it wasn't bad. After then, my mother helped me out. Like my mother said, she broke it down to me. She said, "Linda, I ain't saying he's right. He shouldn't have lied. But where does your man eat dinner every night? Right here with me. Where you be every night? Bingo. You don't got no time for your husband. You always got." My mother sat me down and helped me. She said, "You ain't had a marriage like me. You worried about Betty. Go home and be a wife." She taught me.
What was Betty doing for him that made you realize you had to step up?
Yeah, she was giving him what he needed, attention. She knew that was a good man, too. She wasn't dumb.
Hey,
So,
you better get, hey, Betty, you still
Betty.
around?
No.
yeah,
I need
clean
benefits.
up, woman.
I'm good.
I need benefits. Look, I'm the age he was at almost when we started with him.
Clean up, woman. That's right.
Oh no.
Yeah, clean up, woman.
All right, so going to the next one, okay, and we're gonna get ready to wind it down. Is the healing process. So from just that moment of what happened, we get to joke about it because everything that happened in that situation, some of y'all may not agree with, some may agree with, but at the end of the day, it's their love story and they know where they need to fix and they knew their boundaries. So at the end of the day, he cheated mentally, not physically, from what we know.
Yeah.
But as you know, and that personally to me is the worst way of cheating because that's not just something that you can remove. that's a feeling that grows and matures. So him being able to get the attention that he couldn't get at home unless it's from us badass kids. Well, Dennis the Menace was a bad boy. That gets tiring over time. And what was a couple things Betty would do? Ask about your day, bring you food, check on your well-being, all the things that was supposed to be given while you were learning to be the wife you are now, but he was getting it from someone that seen what you was fumbling the ball with and was just waiting on an opportunity, maybe not, or maybe just being that person. So the healing process was a little bit different for you because it was a reality check. That was your first Band-Aid off of your battle wound of knowing, hey, you don't get your shit together, one of these people out here is going to show you what you missed out on. Just healing process. What steps did you take? What actions did you take to heal? And what was it that helped you move forward?
Okay, what actions did we take?
From this scenario only.
From that. Well, after that, right after that, we both had counseling. And when we first started it, it was husband and wife that counseled us together, but they seen the severity of it. And like he said about me punching him in the face and then me with the Betty situation and all of that, they knew it was to where they could not counsel us together in the beginning, that Robert needed to be counseled by the husband separately and then me by the wife. So they split us up. And actually they started just taking Robert more by himself with the husband on different little trips and outings to be, with a man, and that, and it could have been just because of even the control and the nagging, but just the control and just from my abuse that I had brought from my first marriage over Robert, where it was almost like, even though he lied about Betty, if he was damned if I do, damned if I don't. I can't even sit and tell you the truth about the phone or none of this because how you are. So it was better to counsel us separately. But what was good in the counseling while we were in it, the woman counselor, she had to literally say, do you realize what you're doing? You about to lose a good man. We got people come in this office and ready, crying, complaining. Their man won't even take out the trash, won't even help with dishes. This man's doing everything for you. And you sitting in here complaining, wanting a divorce. You don't get out of here. And so we, ever since then, actually, even up until now, to this day, a few weeks ago, we just left our marriage counselor, and this is 27 years in.
Still
going. Go with our counselor.
And use me part-time. I'm about to charge just like they charge. So yeah. All right, so we got that. Now we're going to pass this mic. And we got one question left after this one, and we have wrapped this one up. They thought they was going to control this one. This one was a wholly different ball game. All right, same question to you, boss man. Do you need me to redo it again?
Yes, read.
So the healing process, what steps did you take? What actions did you take to heal? And how did you move forward?
Okay. Like she said, counseling. But before from my perspective, okay.
From Sherrall.
Yeah. From the Sherrall thing.
Not Glendale, none of those spots.
From Sherrall, I didn't know. I'm going to start with Christ. I didn't know Christ then. I didn't pray or anything.
Matter of fact, before you do that, what did you do at the dinner table when we wanted you to bless the table?
The Holy Trinity cross and the Father, Son, and the Holy.
No. What did you do? What were we expecting, and what did you do? Show us exactly what you did.
Like the the Catholic prayer. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I took that up.
Proudly wrong at the
Yeah,
moment.
I found out that the truth was something else. But anyway, after the Sherrod incident, when I had cooled down and Linda and I were able to be civil about it, we were able to sit down and talk. But first, I had to apologize to you and Murphy at the time because I felt like I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I told y'all, and I said I was so wrong. I'm not going to justify what took place between me and your mom, but I had to apologize to y'all first because I was angry and I said some things that I should have never said.
Right.
So I had to make sure that I, apologize to y'all. And so after that, I went to apologize to Linda for my actions. And, it was still a little bit of simmering, but then she realized that all that happened up there, it wasn't anything that had involved me. She told me everything. She told me it was hard for her to love me. She said, Robert, it is so hard. You don't need to be around me. I said, no, I said, God put us together for a reason. I said, I don't know God that well, but there's something about you that I want to fight for, and I'm willing to fight for you. And, was it hard? Yeah, it was very hard because, Linda was kind of stubborn in that area. But I wanted to make sure that you and your sister were okay because I loved y'all that much, So that's why I was willing to fight for my family as well as my marriage as well as my family, because I felt like this marriage was worth fighting for. There was a lot of mistakes made. I'm not going to say that I was perfect, which you already know that I wasn't. But I knew that we were made for each other. So that's why we stuck it out like we did.
Gotcha. All right. And out of your 20 years plus together, what was one of your shocking moments that showed both of yous were in it in the long run? And I'm going to make sure I cut this even deep. And it happened within the last 3 years. What was something that was a shocker to both of you, because it literally happened your birthday week, my birthday week, that you was exposed and diagnosed, and not just one of you, both of you, and you both said something, but it was the opposite, but it benefited each other. What was something that just recently occurred that was in your marriage for 27 years, and it may not show to you, but it shows to the outside of being a true selfless person to really understand what love means?
Okay, the only thing I can think of that happened to both me and Linda was the time that we went to the doctor. And the doctor told me that I had blood in my stool, and he told me that I have to get surgery. And he said if I didn't get it right away, that it eventually would have severe health problems. And we both wound up, diagnosed with the same thing.
These both was told that you had cancer.
Yeah, and cancer. And so when we found out we both had cancer, it was devastating. I was concerned, but yet I was not too much alarmed. Linda was a bit more concerned about it, but I told her we can do this together. I said we've been in it to win it for this long. Why stop now? Yeah, it was hard in the beginning to accept that because I wanted a second opinion. Right. And of course, Linda was like, what's in there, and I'm like, I said, yeah, I want a second opinion. So they did the second test, and it was still the same. And I said, well, doc, what do I have to do? So he said, well, you're going to have to get a colonoscopy to remove all the cancerous tissue from you. And he said but it's not, it could be another 5 years for the next one, another 10 years, or maybe never. So we prayed and prayed and prayed, and Linda took it kind of hard, and we were both crying and everything, and it was a bad time. But then I didn't give up hope on that. See, I'm more optimistic than she would be, and so we stuck it out. It was hard, but so when I had my first procedure, Linda was there, and so we did this together.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got there, and it was August the 16th, I think it was, and got there, we both there, and no, it was in January. I'm sorry, it was in January, and when we both got there, I was nervous, I was scared. I ain't gonna lie. So although I was smiling and everything, deep down inside I was scared. So doctor said, we're gonna put you under, and we're gonna do the procedure. They did it. I woke up and Linda was standing right next to me, smiling. So I don't know what I said. What did I say? I'm just wondering because under sedation you don't know what you're gonna say. So I woke up. I was groggy. And Linda was smiling. She said everything went well, and the doctor said you have two more.
She got videos of you talking.
Yeah. What did I say? Oh, okay. but yeah. The first procedure went fine. He said the second one might be a little bit more difficult because it involves going on inner tissue and everything. And then after that, they did the test. They said I can go with the second procedure. That worked out fine. And then the last one, he said, "Well, Mr. Smith, good news." I said, "What's the good news?" He said, "You won't have to come back at all." I said, "What?" So I was like excited. So I mean, it felt good to know that I don't have to go back to having those procedures again. But they told me it would have been when they first did it was supposed to be every 5 years for me because of the fact that my large intestine was messed up.
Right.
And so when they told me that I may not have to go through the procedure again, I was like, oh my God. So I told Linda about it, and Linda was like excited. So I mean, it made me feel good that I was not under that type of situation where I can tend to my wife and make sure she's doing well because she was going through a lot. But I want to be there with her whether I'm sick or whether I'm healthy. So that's
what I remember both of you saying. Y'all were more focused on the next person than your own.
Yes.
And it showed character and it showed selfless. Both of you got messages from me, both get phone calls, and both respond is, I just need to make sure he's good because if he's good, y'all will be good. And then it was, I need to make sure she's good because if I ain't here, I need to make sure everyone's set up and be in a good spot. So it just showed where your back is against the wall and both of you are being stripped away, that it wasn't all about, well, what am I going to do? The first time you called, you was like, everyone's asking about me. No one asked about Rob. No one's asking about how he's feeling. We going through the same thing together. And it was just you are finally grown up to be selfless. 27+ years knowing how that was. Give us the experience of receiving the information from the doctor, knowing the uncomfortable conversations that we had and what you had to do, where it was, hey, the kids are still young. How are we going to do this? Having to talk to Lexi and them to say, well, we're going to stay with Newt. To y'all trying to tell me we got to look at a will. And then hearing from one person saying, you need to talk to this person and you need to talk to this one. It was a lot. It was a lot. So go ahead. Let us know on your side.
Like you said, that's just something. We're a team anyway. We always call ourselves the Wonder Twins. That's what we stand for.
The Wonder Twins.
Yeah. On July 21st, actually on my birthday, we both found out the news that there was blood in our stool the same day. And just hearing that doctor when we was in there, the way he just said it when he seen it, he checked Roberts and he said, Mr. Robert, we see blood in your stool. And he didn't realize, because we have the same doctor's office but different doctors, and he didn't realize I dropped my stool off too. So I just asked him, since he said it about Robert, well, could you check my stool while you got your laptop open? He said, sure. And he didn't ever say nothing. He said, wait a minute, I think we got a mistake here. So as soon as he said it, I said, I don't think you got a mistake, because I could tell he wanted to say it. I said, whatever you about to say, if he's going through something, we're so close usually. If he's going through something, I'm going through it with him. And then I said, the reason I say that, he had a stroke and I had a stroke. I said, we do everything together. And so he's like, well, since you said that, I hate to tell you, you have blood in your stool too. And I said it wouldn't surprise me. He said, but if you don't think so, we can do the test again. I said, well, you don't have to test me again, because I've been feeling something funny in my body anyway. I just want to get help. But Robert, he wanted a second opinion. He didn't believe it. So anyway, of course, we both did. And I mean, we fought this thing. We teamed up. And was it days it was hard? When he was down, I was up. When I was down, he was up. And we conquered. I mean, we did this thing. We wasn't gonna let it win. I mean, that's when we really became best friends. We was best friends anyway. But this, he wasn't accepting, not no way one of us was gonna be behind. And I mean, even the days that I would say, okay, honey, listen, okay, just for the moment. Now listen, if I die, okay, if I die first, you promise me you'll be a truck driver. You promise you will live out your dream, because he really wanted to be a truck driver. But he know if he put me in a truck with him, I'm going to ruin his ride. So I said,
you ever heard someone get a ticket for driving too slow? You go on and ask that lady right over there. I ain't never still see anyone get a ticket for driving too slow.
And I'm telling you, we would have them days on the road, and I would say that, and while you out on them roads driving, just look up in the sky and see me. I'm going to be smiling down on you. And these were our serious talks, but he would never want to finish the conversation. And then I would say, but now, Robert, if you die first, I'm going to do more foster care. And that was it. But only babies, Robert, only babies, because he never wants to do that again. So we would have them little days where we would say if, because it would get kind of scary at times and that. But I mean, we pulled that off, and that's why I said the best is yet to come. That's how we're going to end that.
And that being said, I'm going to let her finish it out with whatever words she wants to give about marriage, self-love, and self-growth before tapping in to entering someone else's life, because you can be their peace or you can add fuel to that chaos, and that is up to you to know if you're ready to be that peace, because if not, all you doing is damaging a potential for someone else.
I just give you that big warning sign. Make sure you're ready. To make sure if there's any doors that are open, that they make sure they have them closed. Seek help if there's anything that needs help in any area. Seek help. Don't be ashamed. Don't try to just keep going and push it to the side and think that it won't come back up, because it will. Some kind of way there'll be a trigger there that, one day comes up and can ruin something that could be so good just by getting help for it. I wish I could have did that, but because I didn't, I do thank God that he tailor-made Robert Smith just for me.
She got a custom suit. He might get some cutty tonight with that speech. Go ahead, party the old way onto his polo. Same question. What is it that you want to leave us with?
Okay. For those who are planning on maybe one day getting married or all married, main thing is just remain best friends. And if you have issues with one another, sit down and talk, and allow listen to one another's conversation, and not feel like that you know don't feel discouraged about what the spouse might be saying. And it sort of like helps in a marriage to discuss your feelings with one another. And another thing also, um, keep dating. You dated before you got married, or when you discuss your marriage plans, remember to keep dating in your married life, because that I feel that helps a lot, and it helps with my lovely wife right here when we find time to date.
Yeah, they might get a little cuddy tonight. So,
uh,
Lexi, if you hear something, no, that's not them playing. That's them doing it. Uh-huh.
no, it's a discussion, sweetheart.
But other than that, people, y'all really got some great tips, great advice from someone else's experience. And on this podcast, it is my job to show there is many journeys in the sneakers that you do wear. And it's not your job to judge someone else's journey, but to learn from their journey to see where you make or break your boundaries. Other than that, let us know if you like what you heard. Subscribe to the channel. And if you did like what we was talking about, give us some more ideas. We got 27 years worth of stories to unfold. And I am sure, as you can tell, they do not have a problem talking about them. Other than that, this is Coach Law and the fam, and we out.